Hello everyone, this is Nicholas Roddick, Head of Production of Next IT Security Events. And today with me I have Mario Beccia, current Deputy Chief Information Security Officer in NATO. Hello Mario, how are you?
Hello, Nicholas. How are you today?
Quite well and excited to have you in this interview.
Let's start with, could you share with us your journey into cybersecurity? What initially drew you into this field and what roles have you had throughout your career, including your current position in NATO?
Sure. So, let me start from the very beginning. I've always been very passionate for information technology, technology at large, networking. I started coding with a C language when I was 13 years old, and that always gave me that kind of twist or that kind of insight in how things are done, with how things are supposed to work and how you detect certain differences, and in general how you look at things in a sort of slightly different way. I started my career in 1997 and by founding my own startup company with a group of friends just after my university degree. And this was what at the time used to be called a web agency. So basically, we were using the LAMP stack to create applications for business purposes. Now, today this sounds a bit silly because it's kind of a normal thing to do, or a business model that is used in a number of places. But back then, we are talking about 27 years ago. Back then, it was quite an advanced and an interesting area. And since then, I developed a huge interest for security. I worked as an independent consultant for security for a few years between Italy and Belgium. And the job was about compliance, GRC, what today would be called governance, risk, and compliance. And it was really about trying to channel the increasing interest in cybersecurity. At the time, it was more information assurance rather than cybersecurity. But still, the idea was to channel the interest in security and information assurance into existing standards, existing methods, technologies, new products, and things like this. And there was a number of emerging industries that were looking favorably at how to do business on the internet, online, and etc., and consequently on how to secure their business models from a cybersecurity perspective. Then you fast forward to 2006. That's when I joined NATO. And I joined as a security architect. And the job was located in San Diego, California, where NATO had a joint project with the US Navy. And at the time, the idea was to look at security designs and understanding the security of a number of command and control systems. So systems that are used in military operations to create situational awareness for military commanders. I then grew into a number of roles, and if you fast forward by 5 years, I'm now the Chief Security Architect in Allied Command Transformation, which is our transformational command based in Norfolk, Virginia. And at the time, I had the privilege to design with a number of colleagues, obviously, the consolidated version of the Security Operations Center that NATO is using, what at the time was called the NSIRC, the NATO Incident and Response Center. So we had the chance to go through a number of technology solutions that were available at the time, and then design the architecture of the SOC, of the organization. As you will imagine, NATO as an organization has a very complex ICT structure. We have networks at various levels of classification, and each network, each level of classification requires special and dedicated security measures. How these are monitored, how data exchanges are monitored, all of this was in scope for the SOC. The SOC also had a number of other important functions. For instance, We have a number of tools that we use for penetration testings and security audits. We do what is called tempest assessment, so making sure that not only the cybersecurity, but also the electromagnetic emissions are within set ranges. And so all of this was designed around 2012, and then between 2012 and 2017, it was actually implemented into production. And I had the luxury to move from the design team to the implementation team, and so I worked as a program manager for the NSERC between these years. Then you fast forward to 2018. That's the time when I joined the European Defence Agency. So I left NATO, and I worked there as the first CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer of the organization, a role that was created just that year to support the evolving business needs of the agency. Now, for many people are not familiar with the defense environment in the European Union. It's a very dynamic environment. It has a very different mission compared to NATO's mission. And it is quite interesting because there's a lot of players, interesting people, interesting companies, and interesting entities that are involved in bringing forward the defense agenda of the Union. Then in 2021, I joined back NATO in my current role, and in this role, I started the office of the Chief Information Officer. NATO decided in 2020 to implement a Chief Information Officer role, and then together with the role itself, we also built the office of the Chief Information Officer, which is in charge of looking at the overall risk of NATO networks, cybersecurity risk, obviously. And we're also in charge of doing what is called top-level incident management. So whenever there is a large cybersecurity incident in the organization that requires a management that goes beyond the boundaries of one single component of the NATO enterprise, my office takes over the management and the activities to mitigate the effects of the incident. In this role, I also work in a structure that is called the DCO Planning and Coordination Cell. This is an internal structure that is intended to manage the planning and execution of defensive cyberspace operations. These are basically actions that are ported on NATO networks for defensive purposes, using cybersecurity tools, technologies, and procedures, but applying military doctrine and what is called the military mindset. So, in practice, we conduct a number of threat hunting campaigns, but these are supported by intelligence products, by a number of other military tools that, aggregated together, transform a technical action like threat hunting into a military operation. So these are more or less the three big areas that my office is involved in from a cybersecurity perspective. On the other end, we do a lot of work bringing forward the enterprise architecture of the organization, so adding new components and monitoring the creation and the conduct of development projects to make sure that they fit into our overall vision for the organization. In this respect, we are leading a number of very interesting programs. One of them is called ACPV, Asset Configuration, Patching, and Vulnerability Management. And it is about reinforcing and creating the next generation of the processes and the tools that are used for patching, for vulnerability management, but also for asset and configuration management. This, to me, is a sort of materialization of a concept that I've been toying with for a long time in my career, which is the fact that cybersecurity is always perceived as a very technical domain, as something that has a lot to do with technology and with very advanced threats and malware and viruses and etc., which is absolutely true. But in reality, in order to achieve real cybersecurity, we need to start from the basics, from the beginning. If you don't have good asset and configuration management, it's very hard. It's very hard to establish what your level of security is. And the same goes for vulnerability management. if you're not aware of what threats out there could do in your ecosystem, on your systems, it's very hard to understand your level of security. So that's more or less an excursus of my experience. And in this role, we are evolving the way that NATO looks at cybersecurity, not only for the enterprise, so for NATO as an organization, but also and especially for allies. We provide expertise, support, and recommendation to all the nations that are part of the alliance in all matters that are related to cybersecurity. Just a few weeks ago, we conducted a very detailed, a very technical level of what we call a technical exchange. So we take all the cybersecurity agencies, all the cyber commands of the alliance, we bring them together in one single venue, and we go through the last week or the last month's vulnerabilities, threats, and etc. And this is a very exciting experience because you can see how the various allies look differently at vulnerabilities, threats, viruses, malwares, events that happen in general. And for us, it is a great opportunity to coordinate and shape a common approach across the 32 allies. So that is an excursus of our activities. I don't know, Nicholas, if this is enough or you want me to go more in detail.
Mario, thank you very much. It was such a pleasure. And for the rest of you, see you next.